It seems like you loved the Hated the Lover song. I saw you was on IG, you was playing it.
Coming up, I was
confused. My mama kissing the girl. You gotta back that up. That shit was hard right there. Hey, that was that best verse. I mentioned his mom. You know, she was one of those. So I said it in front of the song, but the song was produced by Cool and Dre.
Legendary.
Which is my homie.
Legendary.
So the song was a dope song. You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you. Yeah.
But I'm a on homie. He ain't getting no money. Keep laughing, because it's funny. When he come here, if he ever come here and say, how you feel, Rose getting all that money, nigga? Do him like that.
Forever. I don't think that's turning on.
No.
I would love for y'all to get, you know what I'm saying?
Don't do that. You know dog ain't getting no money.
You
been giving me alley-oops all day.
That was an oop.
I got you. I caught your 50 Cent alley-oop on by this people. I got you on that. I just dunked that.
Coming up, I was confused. My mama kissing the girl. Confusion occurs coming up in the cold world. He can still write a verse, but his verse always has drug dealer references in him. Yeah. When he's admitted to being a correctional officer. Okay. In order to be a correctional officer, you have to not have any criminal history. That's right. Mm-hmm.
What kind of rich nigga cut his own grass? Why you out there cutting your own grass? You're trying to save money, nigga? You don't want to pay for the lawn to get cut, huh?
Let me ask you
the AC broken in the motherfucker.
Let me ask you this.
50 Cent, let these people know you really admire me. You love my style, the way I dress, the money I get. And let them know that if you really could, you would put all this to the side to do business with me and work with me. It's the truth. I know it is. Because when you see me stand next to Big Meat, your knees buckle. Oh, my ops, friends is my ops. I'm my ops, all that fake talk. But when you see my brother DJ Khaled, you hugged that boy and drooled on his Amiri. You drooled. When you see little bro Flow Rider, you pick that boy up by the waist and lift him up. Woo! And that's your way of saying, Rose, let's put it to the side. I'm really a good guy. And I get it, but it ain't time for that yet. Because when I see you, go and hug them, I don't speak to them. They po hustlers.
The thing Rick Ross can least afford to lose is not money. It is the idea that he has it. And 50 Cent figured that out a long time ago. Everything else, the diss tracks, the lawsuits, the Instagram posts, has always been secondary to that one pressure point. You take away the illusion of unlimited wealth from a man whose entire identity is built on unlimited wealth, and there is nothing left to defend. That is the game 50 has been playing. And in 2025, the paper trail started catching up to the performance. It started with a podcast. On a recent episode of the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, 50 Cent sat down and described Rick Ross's lifestyle as a presentation. One word: presentation. He said, the Promised Land estate in Georgia costs more to maintain than the nightclub appearances Ross keeps doing, and that the whole operation is a prop built for social media. He joked that Ross cuts his own grass. He said the AC in the mansion is broken. Small details, specific enough to feel like intel rather than generic trolling. Ross responded the way someone responds when a shot actually lands. He went to Instagram immediately and started listing his assets. The mansion, the private jet, the business portfolio. He offered 50 a seat at his table, framed it as a business opportunity, said he could change 50's life, and put his face on a bag of wrap snacks. The internet read that exactly the way it was written, as a man scrambling to prove something nobody asked him to prove until 50 made him feel like he had to. You do not rush to list your assets publicly unless someone just made you feel poor. That is not boss energy. That is damage control. And then the documents started surfacing. The Georgia Department of Revenue had been patient. A property tax matter tied to the Promised Land estate had been sitting on the books since 2021, starting as a relatively small balance that grew steadily with interest, penalties, and collection fees until the state finally filed for tax execution in late 2024. The total had climbed to roughly $65,000 by the time the filing went through. On its own, that number is not staggering by rap mogul standards. But the optics are difficult to work around. You cannot be the biggest boss and owe the state of Georgia back taxes on the very property you post on social media every week as proof of your wealth. Those two things actively contradict each other. The Star Island situation adds a different kind of weight. Public filings in Miami show Ross securing approximately $10.7 million in new financing on his Miami Beach estate, pushing the total mortgage on that property to roughly $35 million. The lender, a Brickell-based firm called Vaster, had already issued a $20 million loan in 2023 and another $4.3 million in mid-2024. All of it structured around a 50% loan-to-value ratio. That is a serious amount of debt stacked on a single piece of real estate, no matter how impressive the property is. And here is where the picture gets complicated. While the Georgia tax debt is outstanding, and the Star Island mortgage is climbing past $35 million, Ross went on Instagram to publicly express interest in buying Cardi B's Atlanta estate. She had posted about wanting to sell it, and Ross commented asking for the asking price. On one side of the ledger, you have delinquent state taxes and a mortgage that would make most banks nervous. On the other side, you have a man actively shopping for more real estate. Either he genuinely has liquidity that the public filings do not reflect, which is possible, or the spending and the income do not line up the way he needs people to believe they do. 50 does not need to say anything. The contrast speaks on its own. To understand why this financial critique lands with so much force, you need the context of where it comes from. The beef between Ross and 50 goes back to 2009. Ross fired first. He put 50's name in mafia music, thinking he could take a shot and walk away clean. 50 responded with Officer Ricky, and the reason that record was so lethal was not the bars, it was the receipts. In 2008, documents and photographs surfaced showing that Ross had worked as a correctional officer at the South Florida Reception Center for 18 months, starting in December 1995. The man who had built his entire persona around being a drug kingpin, who had borrowed the name of a real LA cocaine trafficker, who had rapped about moving weight for years, had actually spent a year and a half on the other side of the prison walls. 50 did not just drop the track. He ran a media campaign. He brought in the mother of one of Ross's children to speak publicly about his background. He pulled every thread he could find. The goal was never just to embarrass Ross in a news cycle. It was to establish permanently that the gap between who Ross says he is and who he actually is could be measured in court documents and personnel records. That foundation has supported everything 50 has done since. By 2025, a new chapter opened. Ross was billed as a special guest on the Millennium Tour, a nostalgia run built around 2000s R&B acts. 50 posted about it immediately. He wrote that Ross was not a surprise guest, that he simply could not sell a ticket on his own. Uncle Murder and others piled on in the comments. The point was not subtle. The man who has branded himself the headliner, the top of the bill, the main event, was now in a supporting role on a tour that featured acts from before his era. That is not where the biggest boss is supposed to end up. It got sharper at the actual shows. Footage from the tour's opening night in Louisville showed Ross performing I'm on One with the crowd. Drake's verse, still the moment everyone was waiting for, still what the audience was singing along to. Ross had publicly dissed Drake and gone to war with him during the 2024 rap battles. And then he walked out on stage and performed a record where Drake's contribution is the undeniable highlight, while the crowd reacted accordingly. 50 watched. Nobody missed it. Ross tried to counterpunch by questioning 50's old Interscope contract situation, pointing out that 50 had not owned his masters after Get Rich or Die Tryin' went diamond. That is a real point about the music industry. 50 left significant money on the table with that deal. But throwing it out right after the Millennium Tour moment, right after they can't sell a ticket post, read as a man reaching for anything that might land, it did not land. Now, to be fair, because the numbers deserve honest treatment, most outlets estimate Ross's net worth at around $150 million. That is a real number representing real assets. The Wingstop franchise portfolio, built starting in 2011, is a legitimate long-term business move. The promised land estate itself was purchased for approximately $5.9 million when Evander Holyfield lost it to foreclosure and has since been valued significantly higher. That is smart real estate. His Maybach Music Group built actual careers. The music catalog generates real passive income. Ross built something substantial, and the evidence of that is in the buildings and the business filings, not just the Instagram posts. The problem is that carrying all of it costs money that does not stop. Every mansion has property taxes and maintenance costs. Every private jet has operational overhead. Every piece of real estate 50 points at comes with a balance sheet attached. And when the income from touring is declining, when you are a special guest on someone else's tour instead of headlining your own, and when the state of Georgia has to file against you to collect what you owe, the math starts to look different from the outside than it looks on the Instagram story. 50 does not need diss tracks anymore. He needs a phone with Instagram and access to public filings. And against a man whose entire identity depends on the visual performance of unlimited wealth, that is actually the more dangerous weapon. Ross keeps supplying the ammunition. The Georgia debt, the refinancing papers, the Cardi B property inquiry posted while the tax bill is still outstanding. The boss can survive a lot of things. He cannot survive the receipts disagreeing with the presentation. Drop a comment. Do you think 50 Cent has been right about Ross all along? Or is Ross still the boss regardless of what the filings say?